Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, I'll tell you what almost happened. I almost broke down today and started to record the alternate video topics for RPG A Day 2017. Not because I wasn't going to do the topics that were laid out, because I'm trying to do that every single day. In a couple days, I've had to kind of dovetail into one of the alternate topics, which has worked out great. But I like all the alternate topics, and I want to answer those too. But I want to save those till after August. I said, what the heck? I'll do that then. So, if you're really interested in what I think about all this other stuff, you keep watching. It'll be great. However, I was thinking about doing that today, but I realized I wanted to do something else. I saw this video. It was a response video by Dark Age of Roleplay Games about don't start in a tavern. And he talked about why starting in a tavern was okay. I hadn't seen the video by Charles and James saying, hey, don't start off in a tavern. So I thought about it, and so I just kind of want to give my 2 cents. And I watched both videos; they're both great. They both remind me of a lot of things, and I agree with what both of them said. To a certain extent. And you have to be careful. It's a really convoluted topic, and of course, you know that basic trope. We all sit around a tavern. People, as Sam said, people are sitting there ordering drinks, and then they're just then you get to what do you do? Well, I don't know what we're supposed to do, and you're waiting for this hook that the game master is going to give you. I thought it was really, really funny. I didn't think about this until afterwards, but when it was my turn to run All for One Regime Diabolique, because so far we've had 4 actual sessions with all of us. And we're hopefully in September we're going to start again because Francois had some stuff. He was stupid busy. Anthony's already got a game on deck and some ideas on deck, so I'm pretty pumped to get back into that. But anyhow, I didn't realize until Sebastian really made this little private video for us. He talked about the idea, and I think he might have released a public one later on. He said, you know what, it was this OSR experience, even though I tried not to make it this thing OSR experience. And he said, yeah, we started off in a tavern. It just happened to be an outdoor cafe in Paris. I thought, I was like, son of a gun. Yeah, I guess I did start him off in a tavern, more than likely, or so to speak, rather. But that's kind of funny. But to me, it's absolutely true what Charles and Change was saying, that if you're stuck there and you're just doing this because it's this tired gaming trope, don't do that. That can be boring and really awful. To me, one of the things I like, and I think I even remarked, I made a response probably to Dark Age of Roleplay Games. I don't think I actually put a written response in Charles and Chain's video. Was one of the reasons I like that whole tavern thing, or motif or whatever, is you can put something by the players. They can get a hook, so to speak, or you can. It's pretty much this little info dump, like, hey, there's this thing going on. You're all conveniently here in this one location. But to me, the players, the characters, are free to completely ignore that. But you've just told them something about the world. They can then exit this tavern and do whatever, and it kind of at least establishes something, rather than they're just sitting there, ting-a-ting-a-ting, what do we write? As I believe that was Ringo Starr talking about writing songs with George Harrison. Lennon McCartney wrote all these songs, and Starr Harrison not so much. But they'd sit around this room wondering, what do we write? We're supposed to write something, and we want royalties and to be cool Beatles too, right? So, anyhow, I like, the idea is like it doesn't have to be this thing where you have to follow that hook. It can be a little, it doesn't have to be boring, is the point. I watched this video by Sean Driscoll. I can't remember what the heck it was about, but he talked about, he's talking about role playing, as he does an awful lot. And the idea that, sometimes the players are there for a little while, and it doesn't have to be a tavern, it could be a starship, it could be whatever, but they're role playing. They're riffing off each other. He says it's almost like they're idling. I think it's a cool thing, but you don't want it to go on forever. One of my favorite parts of that All for One Regime Diabolique session was that little period of time where I kind of threw in something. It wasn't even a plot hook in the beginning. It was just this stimuli. And they were already riffing off each other, already had the engine running, so to speak. The characters have already been established. They're role-playing with each other, which I just enjoyed. I sat back and watched. This is great. I introduced this pregnant woman. Haven't really introduced too much. And then introduced a couple, some name confusion. Played off some name confusion that Francois' character had introduced and made it even funnier. In fact, these two sisters, two names he's calling this one, they're actually twin sisters. Then I just love to sit there and sat back, and I think they said, okay, what next? I'm like, oh no, keep going, because it was great. Let them spin their wheels for a little while, have a little fun. So that those little downtime scenes, tavern, deck of a starship, wherever you happen to be in town, really fun for some role play for a little while. So I think that's kind of great. If that's not you, okay, don't do it. I mean, Sam was even talking about the idea that he likes that, but you can't always get players that do that. And okay, well, to me, it's like, find the right players, which is something I'm involved in right now, trying to find the right players locally. Let's see. This is kind of a all over the place video, but I didn't want it to be all over the place. But what the heck, maybe it's just more of this glimpse into my psyche. But yeah, so you can introduce this idea to the players. They don't have to interact with it. One of the things I'm less fond of, and I understand it's the nature of one-shots, or it's the nature of getting a campaign started. And, once again, perfect example, our All for One Regime Diabolique campaign that we're in. It's a different game master each time. We've got a lot of space in between our sessions, and so typically the sessions have been started with like a mission of some kind. I think my session was the only one that didn't really start with a mission as such. So we've been given like an assignment, and that's cool. But I don't always want to start that way. I don't always, but you've been hired by so-and-so to do this. Now, on the surface, being in that tavern, being in that cafe, or whatever, it seems like that's how it's going to go down. Is it's just this filler section before, hey, we need to commission your ship, we need to fly to Alderaan, whatever happens to be, and you're supposed to take that hook. You don't have to. To me, the fun part is, the old man and the kid and these two droids show up and to the bar, and they want your ship, and you're like, yeah, actually, no, dude, that sounds like a really bad idea. I'm going to do something else and try to find work elsewhere. To me, that's awesome. The game can go off in that direction. So it's something to like just have a hook or an idea or something pass by the players. They don't have to engage with it. It's not obligatory like it is in the you've been hired by so-and-so to go do this. Yeah, you have a choice. But then you better have a world out there for them to interact with. So that's part of the gig, for me. I'm trying to think of anything else really relevant I wanted to say about that, So it's not so much in defense of the trope. It's the idea that that's not necessarily a bad thing. I personally love a lot of role-playing in a game. One of the things was it. Sam was mentioning the idea that like a lot of people there, they want the action. They want to get on to the next piece of action. They want to, have this exciting adventure. They don't want to have all this filler time. And I get that. And I've certainly played in games like that where you want to get onto the more exciting part. But to me, part of the charm or allure or of having those scenes like the tavern scene, like the the downtime, isn't so much like, oh, let's have an emotive beat or a downbeat or whatever. We don't have to have that. I'm not really into planning all that kind of stuff. It's the idea that this gives the players, gives their characters the opportunity to kind of set the tone of the story or the session. And so you don't necessarily have to all of a sudden jump and go do all this daring do and exciting stuff if you don't want to yet, or you don't find what's going on particularly attractive. You want to do something else. You can set the tone like, well, how do we want to play out the session? And it's not really planned. It just kind of emerges. What really happens. So that's to me, I like having the opportunity to have those kind of scenes. And sometimes we create it ourselves. We go into town. We have this downbeat time, and it's like, okay, well, what do we do? And we kind of tell the game master what we're doing, and they go along for the ride. I like that. I've had situations like that happen in games that I did not expect. In other words, the characters were interacting with NPCs. Why in this one particular area they had to stay there for a night because it just made sense. Game-wise, we could just say time passes, but we had something little interesting happen. And I thought that was going to be it. Okay, you sleep tonight, you guys leave. Is there anything you really want to do? Okay, we're going to go on to the next thing. And instead, the players start interacting and initiating all this role play. And this, what you would think of, or you could think of it as downtime, it's not downtime. The session's still going on. To me, that's part of the fun. It's this unexpected thing that happened. So yeah, it got really tangential, didn't it? But yeah, I don't necessarily think the tavern is a bad thing, as long as you're not using it as a tired old trope, and as long as your group is okay with that. You don't want to be sitting there going ting a ting a ting. What do we write? I can't believe I remember that. That's something I heard. Man, it got to be 30 years ago. So in an actual interview with Ringo and Harrison. So that's it. That's my stuff about taverns or cafes.